So let's just cover the. So over here, so we did A and P right for the lecture exam 3, and then so we technically just have these organ systems left. So let's do the cardiovascular system, the immune system. Notice I skipped over. Did we do a digestive the last one? I mean, if we, yeah, we did. No, I'm just gonna skip over it anyways if we didn't. But just note, guys, for the final, all the lectures are still technically here. It's 1 through 50 questions are the A and B. I gave you guys some questions to look into in the morning, just because I wasn't able to cover it. But the rest of the questions should be pretty sound. So the 25 questions, a lot of them will be coming from the quizzes that I covered, that I'm currently reviewing. But that's how you review it. I could almost guarantee you guys most of the questions just require light studying because you already did the hard work trying to input the questions throughout the semester. The way I taught you guys, it's really hard to forget the questions that come up on the final. I know that because I hate how finals can be hard because they ask too specific of questions, and it's not like that for me, in my case. So I would still, though, for the sake of your knowledge, review most of the chapters. The final is not as detailed. It shouldn't be. I don't think it'll be fair to be detailed, so it has to be very light, to the point that if you review all 22 or 23 PowerPoints, the things that you could get off the top of your head from that review could be the ones tested. It's not too detailed. And then I will be copying and pasting the quiz questions that we go over throughout from here until next Thursday. So for the lecture exam on Tuesday, though, we have cardiovascular, the immune. We have whatever last couple. We have reproductive, endocrine, and nervous. So that's why I think the digestive. Repro, endo, and nervous. Exactly how we went over in lecture, guys. If you remember the practice lecture exam questions that I said throughout the whole lecture, it's just like that. No more detail other than the ones that we went over, the ones that you guys were able to recall without even studying one bit during your lectures. Your guys' average is still very high, so you guys already know how you can test it. It's exactly how you see it during the lectures. But with that being said, let's go over quiz for that final. We're going to be going over quizzes from here next Tuesday and next Thursday, and then we'll complete all the quizzes so that you guys are ready for that final study. Number 1, we're still on quiz 5 now, which is plant structure and reproduction. The one that was a little harder, I think it was the lower averages out of the whole class. So let's take our time with this one. Which of the following answer choices below is not a function of a plant's roots? That was a little easy. Well, a plant's roots can anchor the plant. Storage of organic nutrients, absorbing minerals and water, that's all obviously plant roots. But what color are the plants? What color is the plant's root? Oh my god. The plant's roots is not a color. It's not color what. It doesn't allow it to do photosynthesis. Plant's roots are not color green. So the fact that they're not color green and they're underground, that means that the answer, which is not the function of a plant's roots, should be performing photosynthesis. That's resoundingly the answer. This type of cell were mentioned to have the thickest layer to it. It was mentioned to have a secondary wall, reinforced with linen for rigid and supportness. Your answer choices are as follows: parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma, phloem, and xylem. This is where students got tricked. The two things, so parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma are three different types of tissues that are ground tissues, and you have to determine, there's a slide on that chapter that determines the differences between the three. I told you guys the keywords, linen, reinforced, and secondary cell wall, all of that means sclerenchyma. Sclera means hard in Latin. Sclerenchyma is hard tissues in Latin, which is why sclerenchyma. Secondary, linen, hard, rigid, all of that is sclerenchyma, is your answer. Tracheids are water-conducting cells, so write that down. What is tracheids? Tracheids are for xylem. Tracheids are water-conducting cells is your hint. What is the one that conducts water? It is xylem. Remember, phloem versus xylem. I would review that. Those are ones that you could just get from off the top. I kind of stressed that in most of the lectures. Phloem and xylem I would review for the final. Okay, guys, these types of buds are the ones that grow lateral. Are they apical or axillary? Axillary is armpits, so it's at the sides. Axillary buds are the ones that grow lateral. What is the opening on the underside of a leaf called? Stomata, not stroma, stomata. Stroma is the liquid inside of chloroplast. Those two highly forgotten and highly switched. But stomata means stoma means opening. Stomata. Which of the following is not a part of the 3Fs of an angiosperm life cycle? We have flowers, single fertilization, and fruits are your 3Fs. Whatever is not there is going to be the answer. The double fertilization is not the answer. So the 3Fs are fertilization, flowers, and fruits. But if I make up another one, that would be your wrong answer. So pick that. The 3Fs. Know that. A region in which there are clusters of flowers. Let's see if you guys can get this. Complete flower, incomplete flower, or inflorescences. What is the cluster keyword? Inflorescence is clustered. There you go. Okay. What is the correct number of chromosomes in an endosperm structure of a plant? Is it N? What are 1N, 2N, 3N, and 4N? Your answer, guys, the trickier question, in an endosperm of a plant, it's 3N. 3N. Again, people fall into that trap, which is why this was the harder quiz. So pay close attention to that. Okay, guys, what is the correct structure located above the cotyledon of a developing embryonic plant? What prefix should you say for above? What would you put and look for? What is a prefix that means above? Like, it starts with an E. Epicaudal should be your answer. That should be an easy one. So epicaudal is above. And last but not least is which of the following is not a utilized fruit dispersal mechanism? Water, animals, and wind are fruit dispersal, and I put rocks here. Yeah, no, they're most likely not a fruit dispersal mechanism. The water, animals, all of that was covered. But yeah, so I copy and paste those questions, guys. Take the time throughout. We're almost done. We're I think halfway done with the quizzes. So we'll review the rest on Tuesday and Thursday of next week. So please stay after the lecture exam and the lab exam so that we can review some of them before I let you guys go. Alright guys, we're in some fun now because we covered some stuff. The very important things that we covered what? Like the depolarization, all of these are coming up for our lecture exam form. So in a polarized state of a neuron, what is that neuron doing? Resting, firing, or returning to rest? Resting. What was the resting membrane potential or charge of a neuron, guys? Negative 70 millivolts. When a neuron wants to fire, what channels open to let positive in? Sodium plus channels open to let positive in. When the neuron starts to fire, a lot of positive comes in and action potential is firing. All of that is what state of a neuron, guys? Polarization, depolarization, or repolarization?
Depolarization.
When we depolarize, a neuron is active. A lot of positive is coming in. Depolarization. The neuron wants to return to its polarized or resting state. What condition is that called? Repolarization. I told you guys about the person, talking to a person that I liked. Here is the an example of a reflex. For me, there is an arm. The arm had sensors, bounce off the spinal cord into over here, cause my arm to retract. The one thing you guys have to note is we have a couple things. We have the vertebrae, or the spinal cord over here, and we have 3 types of neurons that you guys have to memorize. You also have to memorize their orientation. It's here, but it'll also pop up for anatomy too. Pay close attention, guys, because it's not the last time you're going to see this. It's only the first, but it's not going to be the last. Number 1, when you take your sensations, for example, you're about to trigger a reflex, you touch the table, there are blank neurons that will be able to sense the touch, that sensation. So your sensory neurons are the ones that are activated. The sensory neurons go where? In the back or in the front? They go into the dorsal neurons. They use the dorsal neurons. Dorsal means what, guys? Front or back?
Back.
What does dorsal mean? Front or back? So dorsal means back, like dorsal fin, so back. So it's okay. Okay. But as you can see, dorsal comes from the back. It's okay. So guys, sensory neurons is going from the back. And so over here, guys, dorsal means sensory from the back, and motor neurons come from the front. So dorsal from the back, motor comes from the front. The one thing you have to note, guys, notice that there is a neuron in between. Neuron in between. Neuron in between translates to interneuron. So again, sensory neuron brings sensation. Interneuron is in the spinal cord, and motor neuron comes from the front. Sensory neuron belongs where? A, B, C, or D? It's the dorsal neurons. Interneuron is in your spinal cord, and that relays the information to a motor neuron. Motor means it controls a skeletal muscle. That is what we call a reflex. This is a reflex arm all the time. So over here, let's just cover it a little more. What did we say is the type of matter that has myelinated sheaths? Gray or white matter?
White.
White matter. White matter and unmyelinated is gray. Very good. Cerebrospinal fluid is the one that circulates nutrition, gets rid of the waste off of the brain and spinal cord. Brain, spinal cord, fluid, right? And it also cushions. We covered gray and white. Notice these guys cover them for lecture exam. What is an ependymal cells? That's the one that promotes the circulation of CSF. Microglia, what organ system do they relate, guys? They help protect, so they're with the what? What organ system helps protect your body? The immune system, very good. The nervous system protects or immune. Oligodendrocytes and Schwann cells, wiping it out. They are types of myelin sheaths. Which is the correct myelin sheath for central nervous system? Oligo or Schwann? Oligodendrocytes. Oligodendrocytes. Schwann cells equals P and S. Schwann cells are the myelin sheaths that protect the peripheral nervous system. Very good, guys. So keep repeating that. But all of those are very simple test questions. No more details than that. This is already a lot. So astrocytes are cells that look like what, guys? What does astro mean? Stars. Blood-brain barrier. They're like in a protest. That they're all hand in hand, locked in, making sure that there's not a lot of blood getting through it. Only the good stuff gets through. But that's hard for medical researchers and doctors because they can't get medication to go through the BBB. Okay, so let's talk about some more test questions. The peripheral nervous system splits off into two. What is the system that controls your skeletal muscles voluntarily? Is that the motor or the autonomic nervous system? The motor system. Motor system. Yes. Motor is voluntary control of your skeletal muscles. In the autonomic nervous system, what is the correct portion of the autonomic nervous system, otherwise known as fight, flight, freeze, or sex? Sympathetic nervous system. While the rest and digest is otherwise known as
parasympathetic.
So fight, flight, freeze, or sex, the four F's, right? And then rest and digest. Yeah, there was another professor when I wrote this on the board, but they were like all making comments. So the anatomy professor came in. She's like, "Oh, fight, flight, freeze." I don't know what the other F is, guys. What is the other F? And everyone just shut up. No, they didn't want to answer it. Sex. Let's go to the next one. So as you guys can see, true or false, these guys can take place at the same time by increasing at the same time. False. It's like a seesaw. If the parasympathetic is activated, the sympathetic is down. So if you're always stressed or thinking that you're always, like let's say anxiety disorders, they think that they're always stressed or whatever like happens, the sympathetic is always activated and they suffer with a lot of digestive system problems because rest and digest belongs here and we're not activating that when you're stressed. The fact that they have opposite effects of each other, what term is that called when you have the opposite effects of each other covered in the last organ system? It starts with an A. They are not protagonistic, they're antagonistic effects. They are antagonistic effects. They go against each other. That also should be from the endocrine system. So the enteric nervous system, entero in Latin means digestive system. It is the third biggest nervous system ever. We are starting to find out just because this guy cannot communicate with you guys doesn't mean it actually affects your behavior. It does. If you've ever had a bad mood associated with the type of food that you ate, they are both correlated and causative that we're starting to find out now. Just because this guy cannot talk to you doesn't mean that you can feel the same way with it. You can feel. A lot of your mood is dictated by the type of food that you eat because the third most biggest type of nervous system is your digestive system. It has a whole brain on its own. So keep that in mind, guys. Dopamine, serotonin, all are released by types of food that you can eat too. You'll see that in physio. So now let's go over here and let's talk a little bit about a couple things. Number one, you have 3 regions of your brain. 3 major regions of your brain. Okay? Number 1, we have the brain stem. Number 2, we have the diencephalon. And number 3, we have the cerebrum. So this is your brain component's 3 major regions. The brainstem, the diencephalon, and then we have the cerebrum. Okay? What I want you guys to understand is there's more subcomponents that you guys have to note. Not the last time you're going to see this. This is only the first and not the last. So let's talk about the subcomponents of each. This, guys, in the future, acronyms will help you get all the way to wherever you finish in your postgraduate work. I'll never forget these acronyms. Number 1, in the order, brainstem, I have M, P, M. Midbrain, pons in the middle, means bridge. And my favorite word, I don't know why it's catchy, but medulla oblongata is the last part of your brainstem. Midbrain, pons, medulla oblongata. Okay. If you ever see Irish gangsters in New York at the early 1900s, when they take a picture, you'll see it. I should have shown you a couple pictures, but when they take a picture and walk around, they always walk around like this because they're very fearful of being ice picked in the back. When someone takes a very sharp thing and puts it through the brainstem, what actually happens is the person can die. It's actually through the medulla oblongata. The one thing you have to know with the medulla oblongata is it controls your, whatever you want, guys, the respiratory rate, the heart rate, breathing, heart beating, your life force. The medulla oblongata, your brainstem, in this case. I'm going to talk about something something intense, guys. But we don't do it now, but in the past, when someone is sentenced to death by hanging, like with a rope, why don't they just pick them up? Why do they have to drop them? Because what happens is they're not actually getting them to choke by the rope. The drop is because we want this vertebrae to disconnect the medulla oblongata. It wants to snap the medulla oblongata. But most of the time we don't ever do that because if the person doesn't drop it, doesn't crack their neck, they're going to suffocate and it's inhuman because they're going to suffocate. We don't want that. We actually want the drop to actually crack their neck so that the medulla is broken. It's an instant death. But we don't do that anymore because sometimes it doesn't crack it and they end up suffocating. But as you guys can see, now the medulla oblongata is the respiratory rate. Now you know when you break your cervical, any of these regions of the vertebrae, you want to watch out. What should you never do to a person that has had a very bad neck or back fall? Should you ever move that person? No. Because the broken shards of bone can sever your brainstem. So as you guys can see, look at this. Our medulla oblongata in the back. Look at this, it looks like a seahorse. Like there's a belly in the seahorse. The pons is the belly part. Pons is the belly of that seahorse. And then we have the midbrain. Okay? The pons is bridge because it is the number 1 structure, write this down, that connects the rest of your brain with the little tiny cute little brain in the back. The cerebellum. So we'll talk about that soon. We'll talk about alcohol too. Where was that from? Let's say alcohol. It's good. Let's get into the next thing. But yeah, no, we'll talk about what it does and why cops know how to check you for a working cerebellum. Yes. What's that? Right with. Oh, right, yeah. Right down pons connects this portion of your brain to the tiny brain, the cerebrum to the cerebellum. It means bridge. Okay. Midbrain. Watch this, guys. Brain. Okay. Sally? So midbrain is reflexes for sound and visual stuff. For example, guys, have you ever noticed that when there's a loud car accident, even your dog has one, your dog will immediately turn. Or if there's a name that's being called that sounds similar to yours, you immediately turn in a party. It's a reflex. That's in your midbrain. People who have a stroke that don't have working midbrains, if I say their name, I'm just going to go there. Loud car accident happens a foot away from them, it's okay. The most likely they can die in dangerous situations. We need a working midbrain to know where to watch out for. So your brainstem is which of the following answer choices below is not a part of your brainstem? MPMR, midbrain, pons, medulla oblongata. The midbrain is reflex, sound / visual reflexes. Loud car accident, an explosion, you best know that the midbrain's going to cause your head to turn. Have you guys ever gone down, there's an accident, and then there's also a slowdown, and it's because people are rubbernecking most of the time to look at the accident? Midbrain, they can't control it sometimes. You have to oversee it. Most of the time they can't control it. Okay, so guys, which of the following answer choices below, so look over here, you can look over there if you want. Midbrain, pons, or medulla oblongata, which of the following is the life force that controls your respiratory and cardiac rate? Medulla oblongata, which is mentioned over here. Breathing, cardiovascular, digestion, swallowing, your whole life, guys, is in that region of your brainstem. So again, that's why these people in the early, when they fear that they're going to be talked after, all you really need is to just do a little prick at the medulla oblongata and the person collapses. Instant death, because it controls your whole body, in this case. Pons helps regulate your breathing, but it also means what in Latin again, guys?
Bridge.
Bridge. It also helps connect the cerebrum with your cerebellum. So over here, I'm going to talk about it real quick, but let's talk about the endocrine system lecture exam 4 questions. The pineal gland gives rise and secretes a hormone called blank. Or hence, in the future, you think about the hormone that helps you sleep. Pineal gland is melatonin. Pineal gland is melatonin. Helps regulate your cycles. Okay. Your brainstem and your cerebrum work together to keep you active with your consciousness. Consciousness is a very deep term that is highly complicated that we still try, but haven't really fully succeeded in explaining or proving it. But it happens. We obviously know consciousness exists. Scientists don't know how to prove it. But it's the most obvious thing in your whole thing. The only thing you practically know for sure is that you're conscious. But it's hard for us to explain it. It's super complicated. The one thing that we see is there is an area in the brain. If this area of the brain is activated, the person is conscious. If this area of the brain is not, they can have working body parts, but they are in a coma. That area of the brain is the reticular formation. But it's your attention. Have you guys ever noticed this? This happened to me not too long ago, but I said, like, right when you bring this up, like, for me, I said, I don't, for the longest time, I haven't really noticed any Dalmatians around there. And when you say that, guys, you start to go outside and there's Dalmatians everywhere. Has that ever happened to you guys? Or I haven't seen a blue car yet, and when you notice that, when you say that, a blue car starts to happen, that's the reticular formation. What happens is over 1 billion things that are happening around you. It's just that you can't control the billion of things, so you put your attention to something. There's probably blue cars everywhere. You don't notice it, but when you say it, the reticular formation highlights them. Now, it's not that you're manifesting it; it's just that you're noticing them a lot more. Okay? I haven't had $1 million yet, guys. I don't know, like just put that out there, right? So as you guys can see, that's what it does. It controls your whole attention. That's the reticular formation, even your eyeballs. Okay, Okay, so which of the following is the correct region of the brain that helps with your balance? It is the cerebellum, the tiny, cute little back portion of your brain. It connects with the big one, and then the cerebellum in the back. Helps with balance and coordination. If someone does not have a working cerebellum due to a stroke, maybe, yes, they'll move, but look at their movements, guys. You can even see it with someone who doesn't have a working cerebellum. Hey, can you grab this? Or part of the experiment? Like they can't. Right? What substance turns off the cerebellum? Yeah, very, very, not a fun substance, right? It's a substance, but yeah, it's a substance that turns off the cerebellum. But it's a substance that turns everything off. Later on in the future, you'll learn the temporal lobe helps with hearing. You ever walk into a bar for 21 and over and people are yelling? They're like right there. It's a substance that turns off your medulla oblongata, which is why you breathe harder. People are always out of breath, but they're screaming in front of my face. I'm like, I'm out. Relax, maybe you need some water. Say when you water. I was gonna nip that. So guys, that's the cerebellum in the back. The one thing for lab I saw pop up when you guys cover the brain is the cerebellum has something that looks like branches. If you've ever seen the term the tree of life, these are the tree of life that we name, branches of the cerebellum. They're called arbor, which is Latin for tree, vitae, which is Latin for life. Arbor vitae. Okay? But have you ever driven, guys? Have you ever noticed that your car is an extension of your body? Like, you're very sensitive. You know how to brake really well. You know how to do that. That's the cerebellum. If you've ever played a game, you react like the avatar's you, or you are very sensitive. That's the cerebellum. It helps you coordinate your equilibrium. Now let's talk about the diencephalon, guys. Diencephalon has an acronym. Look at this. T-H-E, the-M-E-L. T-H-E is the acronym for diencephalon. I'm about to tell you guys something so stupid, but it was just so random, but it's still remembering. But T-H-E, thalamus, hypothalamus, epithalamus. T-H-E, thalamus, hypothalamus, epithalamus. Okay, let's talk about some trigger words. Thalamus, trigger word, relay station. Thalamus equals relay. Relay station. It takes any information and relays them. Have you guys ever, let's say for example, you hear a song and then image it, let's say it's of the person that you dated, you guys listen to the song, and then images of your ex are you get sad, right? The relaying of that information and all of the information coming in, reminding you because of that, all of that is the thalamus. That's the relay station. There was one time, guys, it was our final exam. And this was the final exam that gets me to determine whether I graduate or not from the semester. I have to pass this class. We were driving down, and it was a couple minutes until the final exam. There was a blue Mustang that came by, and my friend just started bawling, to the point that he was grabbing my shirt. And I was like, wait, what are you doing? And then he's like, I'm sorry, but when I saw that blue Mustang, I thought about my girlfriend, but she cheated on me. And I was like, dude, oh, I'm so sorry, man, but you know what'd be really good is if we did well in this final exam, because you cheat, and then I had to really conjure him up to try to pass that exam. But do you see how number one, blue Mustang, thalamus relays information. Oh, your ex had a blue Mustang, so then you images of your ex, and also, oh no, she cheated on you, so another part of your nervous system says sad. All of those are because of the thalamus. The thalamus is a relay station. We need that, guys. In the early humans, if they saw a human get bit by a spider, and the human dies, you best know with the thalamus, that image is going to pop in my head. But in people who don't have thalamus, they're just going to walk up to the spider again and die. We need the thalamus. The epithalamus is above or below, guys? Above. That's where the pineal gland is. What does the pineal gland release again? Melatonin. Hypothalamus is H for homeostasis. What is in the endocrine system that the hypothalamus controls? That's the master gland. It starts with a P for pituitary gland. You guys are catching on. That's all V in diencephalon. Thalamus, relay station. Hypothalamus, H for homeostasis. And epithalamus is pineal gland for melatonin. That's as much as I want to test. And now let's get into the last structure, guys. Finally, the one that makes us human. If I go to a lizard, guys, the lizard can't talk to me. All the lizard does is breathe and then react to the environment. If I look at the lizard's brain, probably has up to here. Doesn't have a neocortex. Doesn't have all of this. So it doesn't have these complex movements, emotions, and decisions. Any more of the less complicated creatures, they can't talk to me, but they can move. They can react, and then that's it. They're these walking automatons. For us, we have the most complex type. We're given this thing called the cerebrum. And let's talk about the lobes of the cerebrum, and let's tell you about a very interesting experiment. So the lobes of the cerebrum, here, another acronym, FPOT. FPOT. So look at this. Good. Frontal, parietal, occipital, and temporal. Wait, temporal in Latin means what, guys? Time. Why do we call this the temporal lobe again? In here, what starts to appear when someone gets older here on this hair? It is the first part of the skull that starts to appear with gray hair. You can see like if you want people who stress like right here. So guys, but in this case, temporal lobe over here is where gray hair starts, which is why we call it temporal over time. So again, guys, one more time: frontal, parietal, occipital, temporal is by your ears. Write this down. This is what I can test from each of the lobes. The frontal lobe, everyone point to your frontal lobe again. Frontal lobe helps with decision making, rational thinking, and judgment. Decision making, rational thinking, and judgment. Okay. Around what age do you think does the frontal lobe fully develop?
25.
Yeah, so 20. I got it. So around 25. But it's around from a range from 18 to 25, which is why the legal age to try someone as an adult is at 18. If we've seen 16-year-old, someone gets very bad, they always say when they end up murdering someone, they say, I blacked out. I didn't know what happened. I couldn't control it. They can say that for the statement, but most of the time we start to see they black out because the frontal lobe isn't fully developed yet. They couldn't control their anger. The frontal lobe being fully developed quells the emotions. It helps you rationally think. That's the frontal lobe. Parietal lobe helps with sensation. Parietal lobe helps with sensation. If someone has a stroke and the parietal lobe fails, they start to feel that they can't feel anything. They're like, I can't feel anything. That's the parietal lobe failing because of the buildup of blood. Guys, when there's a boxer, one of the most illegal moves is if a boxer ever falls, you cannot punch him in the back of the head because that boxer will go what? Blind. The occipital lobe is here for vision. Occipital lobe for vision. You also can't punch him in the back of the head because your brain cells are here. Occipital lobe is vision. Guys, what sense organ is the temporal lobe near? Hearing. Audio. So again, if someone has a stroke in their temporal lobe, this is going to be the freakiest thing. But someone's going to be sitting down, everyone's going to talk about them, and people are going to be like, they're going to be like, hey, and you're like, sorry, can you say that one more time? The blood is building up in their temporal lobe, but they can't understand the words that are coming out of everyone around them. All strokes affect different folks, depending on where the blood is. Frontal, parietal, temporal lobe, guys. Number one, hemispheres. Humans have the largest cerebral cortex, or the outside of the cerebrum, ever known for their proportion. We are very capable from learning because our hemispheres are fully developed. And here we go, guys. This is the beautiful thing. Let's go to the back. So over here is your brain. Your brain is separated, because you might maybe test it on the lab exam, brain is separated by a big deep crack that goes down the middle. This crack in Latin means fissure, and this crack going the long way is the longitudinal fissure that separates your brain into a left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. For most people, the left hemisphere is very analytical. It's the very rational, analytical human part of you. The right hemisphere is opposite. It's very what? Artistic, creative. Everything is one. You name it. It's the right side. What happens, and then just keep note, guys, the left side has the ability to talk. Left side is the only side that has the ability to talk. We'll talk about the Broca's area soon. So there is one structure in the middle that is the only structure that connects your both hemispheres. If we cut the structure, it leads to the biggest experiment that we've ever seen. But this structure is called, guys, the corpus callosum. Corpus means body, callosum means connection. Corpus callosum is the structure that connects the two hemispheres. Sometimes when people have a seizure, what was that? Yeah. So sometimes if people have seizures for more than 20 minutes, guys, as kids, what we do as a last-ditch scenario in the past is we used to do a corpus callosotomy. Lobotomy means to cut. We cut the corpus callosum in half, and we officially separate the two parts of the brain. Do you guys think there were complications when the person was trying to recover? What do you guys think? And I'm going to need a chair to show you an interview from one person. What do you guys think? Talk to the person next to you. Is there any complications from the corpus callosotomy? I'm going to play a patient. Okay. But do you guys think there were complications? Okay. Here we go, guys. I'm going to channel this patient. But guys, when you do a corpus callosotomy, in reaction, both brains are fully intact. They do not talk to each other. What happens is there were not any complications for around 3 months for a lot of adults. And then all of a sudden, we start to see some weird complications where an adult shows up, and then for whatever reason, she's female, she starts to put makeup and pay attention to only one side of her face and her body. And then when we ask her, why don't you do makeup on your right side, she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I do my makeup everywhere. And then it's just only here. She's like, I really don't know what the... when she actually says, you know what, can I be honest? I've woken up a couple times with my other hand that I can't control, trying to choke me. So what happens, as I told you, the left side of the brain can talk, but the other side cannot. The other side is trying to say, so we have experiments called split brain. We have a way for both sides to communicate. And when we ask one side of the brain, what do you want to do? I want to live. We ask the other side of the brain that can't talk. It writes out that I don't want to live, which is why they're choking the brain. We ask one side of the brain, because they're split now officially, are you Catholic? They are. The other side says, I'm atheist in this case. The split brain personality, because corpus callosum is the only structure that connects the two hemispheres. If we actually disconnect it, we have two different people in the same body. And that happens forever if we can't reconnect them. Kind of mind blowing. But that's the corpus callosum in the middle, guys. The only region that connects both hemispheres. If we split it, then we have two people rather than one. Yes. Ooh, we don't know. Like it happened with interviews. One has the better ability to speak, so it can speak full sentences. The other one, there's a way that we cut out their vision so that we can send messages to the other side of the hemisphere that can't speak. They're able to write. Isn't that weird though? Not weird. So they have two different thought processes now. So in mammals, guys, the cerebral cortex has a lot of these convolutions. Common thing, bringing it back full circle, why do we have these folds, guys? To increase what? Surface area. Okay. So guys, let's talk a little bit about more specific regions. I'm only going to test FPOT. Frontal, rational decision making, parietal sensation, occipital vision, and temporal is what again, guys? Hearing. The only thing is there's way more that you'll learn in physiology. But I want to bring your attention to this one. Yeah. So this one right here, these guys, the motor cortex and the somatosensory cortex. Look at this next slide. These are neurons that either handle how fine your movement are or how fine your senses are in the same spots. But we have the most famous psychological image called the homunculus. Okay, obviously, guys, this is not to proportion. These are the neurons dedicated for different parts of the body, for motor and for sensation. Why are they disproportionate? What are they actually symbolizing? Talk to the person next to you. Why is one bigger than the other? What does that symbolize? What do you think it represents? Yeah, what do you guys guess? Why is one bigger than the other? Why is the lips bigger than the arm over here? What does that actually symbolize? So for sensation, yeah, sensitivity. Let's talk about amount of neurons then dedicated. It's more sensitive, then, or do you think there are more or less neurons dedicated? Good. So guys, if you see, look at this. I have a lot of neurons dedicated to the sensitive movement, and I don't have much neurons here to have one quick movement. I would assume that in the homunculus, I should have a big hand and a small arm. There's not much neurons dedicated there. In my lips, if I do a 2-point threshold, I'm very sensitive to know the differences between small 2 and a further 2 points. If you turn around, guys, and you do a 2-point threshold test in physiology, you don't know when 1 turns into 2. You're like, oh my god, finally I feel 2, but that's not as sensitive. Because in your sensation, you have more neurons dedicated to this than the other. Professor, what happens though in the cases where someone goes to the war, gets their arm blown off, and then they actually complain? They're like, doctor, I have a complaint. I have the biggest itch, and it feels like my hand is doing this and it's bleeding. They're like, oh, is it your which hand? And they said, yeah, it's this hand. That's just not gone away. It's very itchy too, but I can't solve it. Guys, what happens is if your arm gets blown off, these are living cells. The living cells want to survive, so they connect with other cells. So your arm is gone, these cells will want to connect to your eyebrows. You know what he did? You want a Nobel Prize for this? He said, you want me to fix the itch? What happens is, let me close your eyes and tell me if the itch goes away. He notices that the hand cells are now connected with the forehead. So he says, close your eyes, let me know if the itch goes away. Is the itch gone? No, it's still there. It's supposed to be here. Is the itch gone? No, it's still... Ooh, you got the itch. You got the itch. What happens is those cells in the sensation have connected with the eyes. They're near. They don't want to die. They want to survive, so they reconnect elsewhere. That's called phantom limb syndrome in this case. Okay, this is going to be a stupid analogy, guys. But the area of your left side of your brain that can talk, I like to... So stupid, guys. It's called the Broca's area for speech. I like to think about it as like a frat guy screaming, speech bro, because it's the Broca's area. The left side of your brain in the temporal lobe that is capable for speech. Speech bro, Broca's area is for speech. Never forget that. Okay, do you want to know even something more stupid? So speech bro is Broca's area for speech. The Wernicke here is hearing, Wernicke's area. Speech bro is Broca's area of speech. Wernicke is Wernicke here, helps you hear. Okay. So again, if someone has a stroke over here and then it fills up with blood, this is the most common side effects of the stroke like that, guys. They're gonna talk and then go, they're gonna start to have difficulty in speech because stroke is happening in the Broca's area. We can track that down, which is why it's really easy to try to track. So yeah, that's the parts that light up. Let's skip that. What did we say was the only structure that connects both hemispheres? It's corpus callosum. Let's just go into a review, guys. We're almost there. What did we say was the correct region of the diencephalon? That is the region that has the pineal gland. Thalamus, hypothalamus, or the epithalamus? The epithalamus. What did we say was the hormone that is released in the pineal gland? Melatonin that helps you sleep. Good job, guys. Really cool in this case. Last but not least is lateralization. I still don't know why this happens, guys, but for whatever reason, we have a contralateral control. What does contralateral control mean, guys? The left hemisphere controls what? Right. Contra means opposite. Contralateral control. The left hemisphere controls the right portion of the body. The right hemisphere controls the left. Professor, why does that occur? What's evolutionary about that? We still don't know why they switch like that. But it happens for all 99.9% of the people. It's called contralateral control, lateralization. The emotions is the limbic system. And then this is the last one. So who likes scary movies, guys? I love scary movies, right? What was the scary? If you think back, guys, sorry for the couple minutes, but I'm kind of curious. What was the scariest movie you've ever seen? A movie that you almost walked out. I have two. Yeah. Oh, I freaking love DDP and Aliens. Okay. Does anyone know the scariest movie that you almost walked out? For me, it was the first Conjuring. Like, I had to have all 4 friends hold me down. I was like, I'm going to go to the bathroom, and they kept holding me down. And I was like, there was one time I actually needed to go to the bathroom, and I was about to pee my pants, but in this case. And then, have you guys ever seen the recent movie Weapons? Oh, dude, you guys should watch it. That thing was freaky. I came out worried for the director. I was like, this guy has a disorder or something. And so, guys, the limbic system is the one for emotions. Couple things. Have you guys ever noticed in my whole lecture, every single day, I teach with a lot of emotions? Not bland. I always teach like as intense as I can. Because emotions help you. Yeah. The secret to your memory is, I always get students, guys, they show up a couple years later. They don't remember that I talked about the limbic system, blah, blah, blah. But they're like, Professor, I remember that time when you were talking to a girl that you liked, and then I was like, okay, shut up. We don't need to remind you of that. But they always remember the stories, right, guys? If you sat through a 2-hour lecture versus a 2-hour movie, which one do you remember more? The 2-hour movie. Because long-term memory, to log something in that you'll never forget, is information is one. That's the common mistake students get. They just study things, and they hope that it gets logged into the long-term memory. The one thing is, information plus emotions immediately in the long-term memory, right? Very traumatic accident happened, and still, anything that reminds me of that, I react like it's there. Because information plus emotions, the limbic system is your emotion, is long-term memory. That's why I teach with a lot of emotions. That's why I teach with a lot of stories. You guys laugh, you guys get angry, you guys get mad, you guys get shy away. But at some points, that's how you remember information a lot easier. Look at this, guys. I was able to ask you questions that take students 2 weeks to answer. But the reason why is because I tell them in a story that's hard for you guys to forget. Changes how you guys think. There is one region of the brain that I love to stimulate when I get scared. It is the amygdala. I'm a very scared person, guys, but I love to get scared because it's the amygdala. The amygdala is fear, the fearful part of the brain. There's literally a person that was born who had a stroke. The amygdala doesn't work, and she was telling us about, or not us, but I read it in a book, about a time that she got mugged. And the guy got so scared because the guy had a knife coming in, and she's just like this. She's like dancing too. She's like, oh, and then he's like, no, give me your money. The heck? He just starts going away. He's like, okay, let me take my money. Let's get to the next slide. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. So good job, guys, in that case. That was technically our last lecture. So that was our last lecture. In this case, guys, I would review these systems for your lecture exam. If you weren't here in the morning, I would find a person that had a picture of the concepts that were covered for the upcoming final. I'll see you guys on Tuesday for the lecture and stay after so that we can do a review for the final. And on Thursday, I'll see you guys for the lab and stay after so we can do a review for the lab. You'll have open office hours every now and then, guys. Good job, guys. You guys finished the semester. Yeah, next Tuesday. Yeah, for the midterm, lecture exam. CV, cardiovascular, immune, repro, endo, nervous. Notice digestive system is not on there, but all of these systems, or everything is testable in the final, guys. But remember, I know how hard the final could be, so you kind of know that there won't be details on that. It will just be everything.